There it is.
It's Putty Day.
Yes, it is. And here we are for our first channel drink along. So hopefully you've got your cans of Putty at the ready at home, because I think you're in for a taste sensation.
Hopefully, yeah. So we'll be cracking this can, we'll be having a deep dive into the beer itself, and we'll also be having little snippets of our interviews with Verdant, which we did a few weeks ago. And they'll be explaining all about the beer, they'll be talking about the marketing and the ridiculous hype that surrounds this beer.
Massive hype.
Ridiculous hype.
But also, we have...
What's that?
That is a 2022 version of Putty, stored in my fridge.
Why?
I'm not entirely sure.
Stop you there. You know you can't store IPAs like you can Belgian beers.
I know, but hear me out here. So, okay, you know you hear the old adage, drink fresh, hops fade fast. Now, this is true, undoubtedly. I'm not going to try and make an empirical argument against it because I'd be wrong. But my curious mind is wondering what a can of Putty, canned yesterday, is going to taste like against a version more or less a year on to the day. Same recipe, so why not?
Look forward to that. Anyway, before we crack this can, let's find out exactly what Putty is.
Putty is, I legitimately think it is our best double IPA.
No. It's really good, but you know. We don't try to build the hype machine as like, Putty's back, oh my God, it's bigger, bitter, or you know.
The recipe hasn't changed. It's the same recipe. The same hops, same grist, same water profile, same yeast, same everything.
How does it happen then?
Well, this is the interesting thing with it. It's super organic. It doesn't feel like we've done anything different to what we did with our other beers in how we release them and how we communicate them. There's just something about it that people really bought into.
Putty's back, and we did our best, as always, trying to bring you the beer you're waiting for. It's also letting people know in advance it's dropping on that day at 10:30 a.m. If you don't want to miss out, just put an alarm. If you cannot be in front of your laptop or your smartphone, ask a friend or something to order it, because we're going to sell out, we know that.
Okay, so that was our little Putty promo.
That was really good.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I suppose this is the part where we actually get into the can, start talking about it.
Pour it.
Well, before we pour it, let's talk about the artwork. Absolutely stunning.
Much prefer that to last year's, actually. It's got that kind of vibe where someone definitely will get that tattooed on a part of their body at some point. Probably yourself.
I wouldn't be adverse to it. I haven't actually got any tattoos, but I wouldn't be adverse to it. Especially if there was something going on at the tap room, like free drinks every time you show your tattoo.
Like a walking loyalty card.
Yeah, I'd seriously think about that. Anyway,
I'd seriously question where you have Putty tattooed on your body, by the way.
Let's move on. Okay, so really like it, green and black, big fan. Metallic finish, looks sick.
Boston.
Let's get into it and see what's going on.
Let's pour.
You do it. Village.
Have we got a lively one? No. Good as gold. Look at her go.
Look at that.
I've just got to get up to the third line because my OCD will kick off otherwise. There we go. That's the Verdant orange, isn't it?
Certainly. Give it a bit of head.
Grow up. I've massively poured myself.
Classic you. Classic
Greed.
Anyway.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. We sniff this now.
Putty 23.
That's what everyone does, isn't it?
Well,
that's that smell. I know that.
Put on the Cicero cap. But yeah, I mean, that's just Verdant through and through, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
hoppy custard.
Exactly what you get when you smell a big Verdant DIPA.
I've jumped ahead.
You all in?
I'm in fucking heaven. Hop heaven. That's fucking great.
I always forget what Putty tastes like because you have it once a year, right? Well, you don't, you have it every
as
month.
many times. If you buy 12 and you do it like once a month, you can have a can a month.
Yeah, I mean, 12.
That's how I ended up with that.
You're lowballing the numbers you buy there. But it's Putty. And, Putty was originally done and brewed to showcase Galaxy.
Yes.
And you're going to give me some kind of
I'm
ultra hipster description now, aren't you?
I am just going to go on Untapped.
Oh, the best place to go for beer.
Yeah. I'm just going to read you the kind of the description notes that's been put in, presumably
from
by
Verdant.
Verdant. Presumably. It's very descriptive. So, glowing like a satsuma in a pint of double cream and hop to hell and back with Galaxy, Mosaic and Azaka. Dank and sweaty, but oh so fruity with it too. Deep mangoes, apricots and freshly cut grass pervade your senses. That sounds fucking incredible.
You could literally put that in a Valentine's card.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean,
that is, it's the taste that it takes me right back to last January. It's just.
The thing about Putty is it was meant to be a showcase for Galaxy. So like many kind of new age hops, there's going to be that kind of citrus, mango, pineapple. I think spice mango is one of the best descriptors of Galaxy, really. But the bitterness you get from that is probably from the Azaka, which is like an ultra bittered hop, which is typically used for bittering. So it's got the sort of cloud, the pillowy Verdant creaminess.
Definitely pillowy. I'm going to go all out and say that is not as bitter as it was last year, because I remember having it, when you get that kind of thing where people say on Untapped, oh, it's still a bit green, I'll try again next month or in a few weeks. It's like, I kind of got that last year. There was that kind of almost bitiness to it, that kind of bitter bite. And I'm not getting that this time. I'm getting
quite a lot of bitterness there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but again, I can't remember what it was like last year, so I'm struggling to compare. But that feels not a lot, more bitter, I think, than a lot of the Verdant DIPAs.
You can be a bitter man, so maybe that's what it is. So while we were down there at the tap room, we interviewed James, and I got him to give us the kind of full Putty story, the Putty origin story. It's like a craft beer cinematic universe, isn't it? Putty origins.
I'm not going to watch
video. Here's the video. Watch it.
First brew it was 2017, I think, and we did it specifically for Hop City at Northern Monk's place. And I could just see, they were bringing all these US breweries over. I think we'd definitely made pulp a few times by then. We'd maybe done one more PSI by then. It wasn't like the first attempt at a New England DIPA. So we kind of knew what we were doing, and I think we'd just managed to secure a bunch of Galaxy hops, which I was really excited about, and then built this DIPA recipe around the Galaxy hop and how to really put something into Hop City that could show that it's not just the American breweries that can brew something like this. And that was without ever having tasted any of that stuff. So we went about it our own way, and we ended up with version 1 of Putty, which we served up there, and we had no idea how it would go down, and it just went mental. Off the back of that, we might have made another batch quite soon and pretty much canned the whole lot. That sold out in the web shop really quickly, and then it just became this annual thing. We just thought, okay, we think we should brew it once a year, and it became a January thing for us.
Great guy, James. I think I said it in one of the intros to the videos. I could literally have talked to him for hours.
A great brewery.
Yeah,
really good guys.
When we were there, actually, I kind of collared him. After we'd finished filming, went to the tap room, just basically drank the night away, sort of thing.
Yeah, I had to leave early that day. It was gutted.
You missed out. But what was really interesting was, I saw James getting on his bike, and I was like, I'll tell you what it was. I had to chase him down because I noticed that when I was having some cask there, they had the sparklers on. Now, I haven't been anywhere south of Evesham and seen sparklers on cask. It just doesn't happen. It's got to be a northern/Midlands thing.
Yeah, well, that was my understanding.
So I was like, James, I've just had a pint of Penpole and I've realised there's sparklers on it. And he's like, yeah, man. And I'm like, why? He's like, I just prefer it. He didn't seem to think it was like a weird thing, but for me, I was like, literally, I have not been anywhere outside the Midlands heading south where it doesn't suddenly, you get the sparklers off. Here's your flat no head thing.
It was probably inevitable that the south would catch up with the Midlands eventually.
Eventually. But anyway, I suppose we should digress. Obviously, as you said, Putty was all about the Galaxy hop. We wanted to showcase that, and we'll come on to that a bit more later because we do take a bit of a deep dive into that. But yeah, I just found it really interesting that when we talked to James, he always makes a point that he didn't know what these beers tasted like.
It's crazy.
He didn't know what the beers tasted like when he was brewing them. He was just kind of looking around, doing his research on the internet, seeing how things like, Treehouse and that were doing it, and Trillium, and thinking, I want to make that because I know that tastes
without
nice,
ever
but
trying
I don't really,
Crazy. Yeah, he had a preconceived notion of what beer should taste like. So, I mean, not done a bad job.
Absolutely. The other thing I found important-ish is they settled on the January release.
Very important.
Because obviously, as you know, being a retailer, this guy has a bottle shop in Birmingham City Centre. Go there if you ever get a chance. Plug.
Hall beer.
Yeah. So yeah, are you guys participating in Putty Mania?
You kind of have to. It's weird. It's a really weird situation that the sort of hype that's been generated around Putty is kind of twofold, really. First, obviously, it's great for Verdant the brewery, and any brewery is going to go into January into a deficit, basically, where they're going to say, we need some money in the till because people are buying beer, but your sales plummet over January. There's no way around it. Verdant, I don't think I'm being too cynical by saying that's probably in the back of their mind when they release Putty in January. However, the plus side of that is it's massively beneficial for independent bottle shops and retailers because it gives us a real boost in the arm. And it's absolutely critical to get as much money in the till in January because it's a hard time.
And it's funny that you say this because while we were down there in Cornwall, we spoke with Billy, the head of sales, and Tim, the head of marketing, to kind of talk about what it's like to work in Verdant during the build-up to such a massive hyped beer like Putty, and also kind of how it impacts the wider craft brewery or craft beer ecosystem, not just breweries, but the independent retailers as well. So check that interview out now.
It's a very intense couple of weeks. It's probably an intense month before as well. There's so much that goes on with Putty, and it's always living up to the previous year, whether that's through the quality of the liquid itself, the artwork, how far and wide we can get it. It's an intense few weeks, and I've never experienced anything like it in any other sales area ever. It's interesting, the week we're doing this, we've done whale sharks this week, which has kind of been like like stretching off a little bit for Putty in that
it's starting to become a hype beer in its own right?
We've got the web shop cleared through it so quick, and our trade pre-order was basically sold out in the couple of days before that. So yeah, it's the similar principles. It's trying to make sure we spread it as evenly as we can and as thinly as we can to make sure that everyone gets a slice of the cherry. It would be easy for us to just put it all into the web shop and not, or put it all into direct and not worry about, we've got to make sure we look after each channel because all those channels are there all year round. It's important for us to show that love all over the place.
And we don't brew a small quantity just to create that sold out stuff. No, we brew as much as we can for it. But then people have to understand there's cans going to export, there's cans going to bottle shops. We cannot keep everything for our web shop because we want to push bottle shops as well. There's kegs going to pubs. When I was telling you we don't build a hype machine, we still want to make it an event, obviously. So last year, for example, we worked with about 50 venues around the UK that would have first pour of Putty. So it gets out on the web shop on the Wednesday. By the Friday, it was in kegs and cans out in the wild in the UK to 50 venues that were the first one to pour it. And it's venues that we really love, that we've been working with like for quite a while.
Because also the time of year it is, January, it's not a busy time of year, and it can be a real shot in the arm for a lot of people.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
How purposeful was the January launch, and was that in the back of your mind when you decide on that time?
Well, the first batch we released would have been April, because it was for Hop City. It then got moved to January the following year. I think there probably was a bit of that. There certainly is now.
More of a happy coincidence, though, I think.
Yeah.
I think certainly a happy coincidence from the point of view of a retailer.
But yeah, no, it's a good shot in the arm for everybody who's involved in it, really. And it's a cool beer. It's really nice. It's one of those things where there can be some cynicism about it. It's like, oh well, is it actually that good? If you just released it without putty on it, would it be the same thing? And I legitimately think it is our best double IPA.
Are you brewing more this year? Or
Yeah. We've brewed more year on year, because we always think, well, okay, this year's the year we'll find the ceiling, and then inevitably
Never happens, yeah.
we go, I mean, last year there was a bit of a change. We did drop the production back a little bit, because we thought there'd be no keg volume because of what was going on with the pandemic. But then, of course, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because obviously, our turnaround time is 3 weeks, so we brew this. This is the last thing we brew in December to release middle of January. And in the middle of December last year, everyone was like, oh, Omicron's a thing, who knows what's going to happen. But obviously, by the time it came to release, it was like, everyone's open. So that was a misstep, but not a lot we could do about it. This year, we've made sure we have what we hope will be enough.
So a lot to unpack there, actually. It's quite a long segment, but one of the things that I found most interesting, I suppose, was them kind of mention that, yeah, pretty much they could put it all through their web shop if they wanted to, because I mean, it sold out on Wednesday, it sold out
I'd say about 25 minutes.
Yeah, under half an hour.
Yeah.
And that's
crazy.
That's mad. That's the hype machine.
And it's worth noting they brewed a lot more this year, so there's a lot more putty to go around.
So, I mean, I liked the fact that they acknowledge that there is a wider craft beer ecosystem that needs to be kind of paid attention to, because without those bottle shops, without shops like yours, breweries like that don't get the coverage with the man on the street.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that this is quite a small niche community, certainly in the UK anyway, so most people who come into our shop, yes, you have your craft beer aficionados and the people who are always sniffing out the new releases, like Putty, like you, with your tattoo. But for the most part, we're a city centre bottle shop, and we just have people come in and don't really know the difference between one type of beer to the other, or even have any idea about the breweries really. So they just go for what they like the sound of.
Are you going to find because obviously the price point is probably the main one. Obviously this was coming out on the web shop, a 6-pack for like 40 quid. So that's £6.
£6.66.
666. But obviously that's from the source. It's going to be cheaper on the web shop. Now there is a wider argument, I think, that's kind of raging at the moment, where bottle shops are talking about maybe breweries undercutting them at certain points, in my opinion. Not that anyone asked, but without the breweries, they kind of have the right to do what they kind of want.
Yeah, of course they do. I mean,
obviously caveated, because obviously, as we've just said, the bottle shops are good for the touch points for the man on the street, but equally, without the breweries just making the liquid in the first place, you've got nothing to sling.
The world's completely different to what it was a decade ago in terms of selling this kind of product. So the breweries are businesses themselves. A lot of them have huge investments behind them, huge, let's just say, outgoings and a lot of payback to make. So, I would never ever begrudge a brewery from selling direct to the customer, especially as they've got loyal customers that, will actively shop with them, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd be more concerned about breweries selling into supermarkets than that, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But I definitely wouldn't begrudge a brewery for selling direct.
In terms of the price point, before I kind of got waylaid and went off at a tangent, obviously that was going for £6.66. You guys, I know we've had the conversation off camera, you're kind of having to take a hit to kind of keep the can under
A little bit, you know.
under £10.
Every shop will have its kind of profit margin, its target profit wants to make on all the products. So we've had to drop it down a little bit, because otherwise we'd be looking at, you know, over £10 a can probably, which even hearing that in my head just doesn't feel right.
There's tippers that go for that.
Exactly that. So,
But it does tie in with the fact that everything is more expensive now. Like, and
100%, everything is going up.
James mentioned in like one of the interviews where the cost of pretty much everything that you can think of that goes into beer has rocketed.
I just want to make that really clear. It's not like they're bumping up the price of this because it's a hype beer. It's the cost of everything, the ingredients, production, everything has gone through the roof recently. So obviously that's going to have a knock-on effect. But, you know, at some point we're going to kind of ask the question, when does the hype justify the beer itself, and is that going to be financially viable even next year? So it'd be an interesting thing to watch.
Are you concerned about shifting what you've got?
No.
There we go. That's the main thing, isn't it? You know that you'll sell that.
We know, yeah. But as I say, the next year or so will prove interesting to see if that holds up.
Yeah. The next bit I'm supposed to talk about, the fact that obviously there's always that kind of response to the hype machine.
Yep.
If that didn't have Putty on it, would we still be sat here making a video about it? I mean, probably not, but I mean, would it taste any different?
Part of the problem.
Yeah.
Which is a cog in the machine.
We are hyping this up.
And it's interesting because in one of the videos, or one of the clips I think we will show earlier on this, maybe in the introduction, the question is asked, is it your favourite Verdant DIPA, to the guys at Verdant? Some say yes, some say no.
Billy, yes. Tim, no.
It was Tim, actually, wasn't it? Who said, in fact, he said no, quite aggressively. It's weird because I remember last year vividly when Verdant came out. I loved Putty. Sorry, when Putty came out last year, we really enjoyed it. But I think a week later, or maybe at the same time, they released their Watt Moon series.
Yeah.
The 40 Watt Moon, for me, blew this out the water.
I drank that last night.
Still good.
It's fucking amazing. Yeah, it is really good.
And that's because I think I just preferred the hops in that and that particular style. But for me, that completely superseded any kind of the residual hype I had for Putty. So it's strange, isn't it? But
it is. I mean, and I was very kind of candid with the guys down there as well. I love Putty, but it's not my favourite Verdant DIPA. That's Keep Left. I couldn't stop talking to him about Keep Left. I just want to make sure that it keeps getting that kind of, you know, representation so that they brew it again. But also Alan. Keep Left and Alan for me probably edge, but I'm just a real sucker for like that New Zealand hop explosion.
Yeah, Alan is just an exquisite beer.
Yeah, I love Alan. And also it's my wife's surname. So yeah, Alan Ginsberg. She hasn't got the Ginsberg part. She's just the Alan. Anyway, the next part.
Oh, that's a Verdant reference in the book. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or is it Caroline?
Oh, you do watch the videos
Sometimes.
Okay.
The rough edits.
We're going to go on to the next part of the thing now, where we talk a bit more about Galaxy. Now, I found this really interesting because obviously in our video, which was the kind of bruiser unboxing with Ollie and Billy, Billy touches on Galaxy and how feisty it is. And he had a theory that it was kind of to do with global warming or whatever, which probably is still. But I kind of fielded that to James as well. And James was perhaps, obviously, as you would be being the head brewer, was perhaps a bit more pinpoint precise about what he thinks the story is with Galaxy and why it's so unreliable. Now, obviously, the brewers at home or the home brewers or whatever are going to find this pretty interesting, because I found this interesting. I don't know how to brew a beer.
Yeah.
So here's James talking about the feisty Galaxy hop.
So Galaxy, when it's good, it's really good. So what are they called? Australian Hop Company, or Hop Products Australia, HPA. They approach hop growing and processing a bit differently to anyone else. They don't provide lot selection. So usually if you contract above a certain tonnage, the hop company will say, hey, you know what, you should come over and actually just choose a lot because you're buying so much of this. HPA don't do that. So they grow in Tasmania and Victoria, and then they blend the lots from Victoria. So all the Galaxy grown in Victoria, they blend together to create like a uniform Galaxy, and they do the same with the Tasmanian lots. What that basically means, I think, is they blend shit Galaxy with good Galaxy, and you end up with okay Galaxy. So it's a real shame.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the thing is, we try our best to ensure that the Galaxy we use is some of the better Galaxies. You get lots of different lots available in the UK. You know, it's not just one lot that comes over or one blended batch. There might be 12. So we're very picky for starters. And then just learning how to use it. It's really feisty. It's got a very high co-humulone level. So yeah, if you don't treat it right, or you just think, oh, I can do a single hop Galaxy beer, it'll be fine. It's like harsh, really harsh, brash. It can be really woody. At its worst, it's like aniseed soaked pencil shavings. At its best, it's like passion fruit and like an earthy umami thing going on as well. With that, if you look really closely, there's like a little aniseed very low down. That's the really good Galaxy. Pair it with fruity hops like Mosaic or Citra or Azaka like in Putty, or in Sharks it's Citra and Galaxy, and it's just about how you play them off together. Galaxy we tend to dry hop at a lower temperature, which helps to just keep it a bit calm, more calm. Whereas Citra will dry hop at a warmer temperature. So we're always playing around with how best to use these things.
Interesting. Now, when I was listening to that, I was like, fucking hell. Like HPA, like you're screwing people over, screwing you. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's
Hop products of Australia.
I don't know if that's a common practice maybe in Australia or what, but it was interesting the fact that, you know, they mix the good stuff with the shit stuff and you just get okay stuff. I mean,
It's complicated, all this brewing malarkey.
yeah, who'd do it, eh? Who'd do it? But I'm glad someone does. So just to kind of riff on the kind of Galaxy theme, you had an idea and decided to throw in a little bit of a curveball. So explain yourself.
So I thought it'd be interesting to try another DIPA with the same hops in. However, couldn't actually find one which had Galaxy, Mosaic and Azaka. So I looked in the fridge and what we found was the closest comparison we could find, which is a double IPA by Sure Shot. And it's called Say What You See. It's 8%, and this is actually Galaxy and Mosaic, and I think it's Citra. But it's the Galaxy and Mosaic combination I think we're most interested in here, especially Galaxy, because that is the showcase hop for Putty, certainly originally anyway. So we'd probably just mix these up a little bit now, which might make it a bit more interesting.
No idea which is which.
Well, look at the colour. It's almost identical. Interesting.
Have we done this right? They smell very similar. There's that kind of tropical dankness.
Which is quite surprising, really, because I thought the Azaka would be a bit more prominent in the smell. However, you're right. They're pretty close.
Very similar smell. I mean, I wouldn't know what the fuck Azaka smells like.
I really like both of those.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really interesting because massive hype beer. Comes out with a fanfare every year. Smaller known, although up and coming brewery.
Both great beers.
They really are.
And definitely the Sure Shot stands up to the hype machine at the moment.
Yeah.
The pandemonic hype juice.
I mean, you could just mix them together.
Really nice. So I suppose what we should also do is fulfill our promise to show Putty 23 versus Putty 22 and see how it fares.
Cannot
/
wait.
looks. So, as promised, here is the Putty 2022 versus 23 thing.
Why are we doing this?
I don't know if they're going to like this actually.
I'm not going to like it.
I don't really know what to tell you.
I might be pleasantly surprised.
We've pre-poured the 2023 version, and now let's kind of go in on 2022 and see what we get.
This just comes out like water.
It's not bad.
Okay, actually, it's not a million miles off, is it? In fact, it's not off at all. Ooh, okay.
Okay. That smells sad.
Like a grey weekend in Dudley.
It smells very sweet.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Pineapple juice.
Yeah, it
Tastes like pineapple juice.
there's this weird thing where hops fade fast, but also old hops just make it taste like sweet.
It's sweet water, isn't it?
Thick, cloying. I don't know. It's really unpleasant. If you've been to a really bad pub and they don't clean the lines out properly, that's the vibe I'm getting on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pineapple juice. You're right. Yeah.
Pineapple juice. I mean, you look at it. There's not a lot in it. Not a lot in it there. I mean, the colours stayed the same. To be fair, the body, I was expecting new putty to be like custard in comparison, but
The taste isn't as bad as the smell. It's not the worst thing I've ever had, but yeah, it's ridiculously sweet. So I guess kudos to Verdant for even a year down the line. It's still
okay.
a drinkable,
Yeah.
nasty juice.
But that's why you've got yourself some cans, hopefully, or you've drunk your can now. Drink them while they're fresh. There's a date on there for a reason, so
And just store it cold.
that as well. Anyway, I think we should wrap this up because we're going to be on for like an hour or something at this rate.
And we've got a lot of beers to drink.
Yeah.
You can have that one.
I'll take that. No. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your putty wherever you are, and thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.